Must-see. Democrats dealt massive blow after they get caught paying protesters. In recent weeks, social media has been flooded with claims that Democratic leaders have been caught paying protesters to disrupt Republican town halls and public events. The allegations suggest a coordinated effort by the Democratic Party to create chaos and resistance at conservative gatherings by hiring individuals to pose as outraged constituents. The claims have been widely shared by Republican figures and right-leaning media outlets, with some asserting that the protests seen at GOP events are not organic but rather staged for political theater. However, a closer look at these allegations reveals a lack of verified evidence, raising questions about whether these accusations are legitimate or simply another politically motivated narrative aimed at discrediting activism. So, what's the truth? Were Democratic operatives really caught paying demonstrators? Let's break it down. Where did these allegations come from? The controversy gained traction after House Speaker Mike Johnson and former President Donald Trump both made statements suggesting that the protests against Republican lawmakers were staged. Mike Johnson's bold accusations. During an interview, Speaker Johnson claimed that many of the viral videos showing heated confrontations at Republican town halls were for paid protesters in many of those places. He implied that the disruptions were not spontaneous but rather a calculated effort by the Democratic Party to make it seem like GOP lawmakers were unpopular with voters. Trump's take on the alleged scheme. Former President Donald Trump, known for his outspoken views on political opposition, doubled down on these claims. He suggested that Democrats were funding and organizing these demonstrations to create an illusion of public outrage against conservative policies. Trump and his allies have pointed to well-coordinated disruptions as proof that these protesters are not genuine constituents but rather political operatives hired to attack the Republican agenda. Is there any evidence that Democrats are paying protesters? While these allegations have been widely circulated online, they are not backed by any substantial evidence. No official investigations, reports, or credible sources have confirmed the claim that Democrats are financially compensating individuals to protest at Republican events. A pattern of misinformation. This is not the first time such claims have been made. Similar accusations have surfaced in the past, particularly when large-scale protests or political opposition movements gain momentum. Some political figures argue that these narratives are often used to discredit genuine activism, making it seem as though public opposition is fake. Distract from policy debates by shifting focus onto accusations rather than addressing public concerns. Demonize political opponents by portraying them as manipulative rather than legitimate advocates for their beliefs. Historically, these kinds of allegations have been weaponized in both directions. Republicans have accused Democrats of paying protesters, and Democrats have made similar claims about right-wing activists. How have Democrats responded? Democratic leaders have firmly rejected the allegations, calling them a desperate attempt to delegitimize public opposition to Republican policies. Hakeem Jeffries, response. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries dismissed the accusations as ridiculous and baseless. He stated that the outrage seen at Republican town halls is a reflection of real voter frustration over key issues such as abortion rights and reproductive health care, economic concerns, including inflation and wages, Republican efforts to cut social programs like Medicare and Social Security. Jeffries emphasized that Americans are actively engaging in the democratic process out of genuine concern for their futures, not because they are being paid to protest. Progressive activist groups speak out. Several progressive organizations that have been involved in protests have also rejected claims of being financially backed by the Democratic Party. Groups such as Indivisible, Move On, and Sunrise Movement argue that their actions are grassroots-driven and not influenced by party funding. A spokesperson for Indivisible, a progressive activism group, responded to the allegations by saying, "This is yet another attempt to silence ordinary Americans who are standing up for their rights. Republicans want to paint every protest as fake because they don't want to admit that their policies are unpopular." Why these allegations matter? Even though no verified proof has been presented, the accusations have already taken hold in the political discourse. In today's media environment, misinformation spreads quickly, often influencing public perception before fact-checkers can debunk it. The claims that Democrats paid protesters serve a larger purpose in fueling political division by casting doubt on the authenticity of opposition movements, providing conservatives with a narrative to counter criticism, shifting the focus away from policy debates and onto political drama. Regardless of whether people believe these accusations, they raise important questions about how narratives are shaped in modern politics and how misinformation is used as a weapon to discredit activism. Final thoughts. Are the protests real or staged? While Republican leaders insist that Democrats have been caught paying protesters, there is no concrete evidence to support this claim. So far, the accusations appear to be based on speculation rather than verifiable facts. What we do know is that activism, both left-wing and right-wing, has been a crucial part of American politics for decades. People have the right to protest, voice their opinions, and demand change without being labeled as paid operatives. What do you think? Do you believe these allegations, or do you think they are a distraction tactic? Should political protests be taken more seriously rather than dismissed as paid activism? How can voters separate real news from misinformation? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned for more updates.